Welcome back. Thanks for those salams. Of course, keep them coming in. You can get us at K24 TV once again as you get up and get ready for your day. Please let us know how it is so far. Right now, it's time for us to get through our newspaper review. So, as usual, look at the front pages of the dailies and then dig a bit deeper as to the big stories therein. Front page of the People Daily, till we meet again. At 4:30 p.m. yesterday, retired President Daniel Arap Moi's body was lowered into the grave at his Kabarak home after Kenyans from all walks of life united to pay their last respects to the former head of state, who was eulogized as an icon, great statesman, and peacemaker. It's a story that you can get, of course, in very comprehensive detail in your copy of your People Daily this morning. Some of the quotes coming there from various leaders and dignitaries. Uhuru Kenyatta talking about the former head of state. He was my father, worked with my father, and he raised us after my father's death. I have benefited from his love. I have learned from politics from him. And of course, he was known as a professor of politics. So a lot that Uhuru got from the late President Moi as well. Front page of the Standard, the last salute, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, 1924 to 2020. As you can see there, the military honors being given, of course, therein. A comprehensive story as well found in your Standard this morning. Front page of the Daily Nation, go well Mzee, military plays the last post, long revealed to signal end of a former commander-in-chief's duty right there. Also, during that particular ceremony, Gideon takes the mantle, an emotional send-off, and of course, as far as the military honors are concerned, he got a fly past and a 19-gun salute. Former president receives the highest military honors during state funeral at Kabarak therein. But also, even as people were going for this particular funeral, 2 injured in a road accident. Doctors say Jubilee Party SG suffered broken ribs, while his bodyguard, driver, and passengers of the Matatu that collided with his Toyota Prado sustained multiple injuries. They have since also informed us that he is in a stable condition right now and is closely being monitored as well. You can get that story in your copy of your Daily Nation this morning. The Star opting for a political angle to their story and their front page. Moi picked Gideon as his successor. Eldest Raymond remains family head, but Gideon becomes his political successor. Former president told his family his preferred choice was a Baringo senator, and as we saw yesterday, the baton was handed over to Gideon. He didn't expect it, as he said, but from here, he charts the way forward as far as that legacy is concerned. Front page of the Business Daily, Safaricom eyes big score with 5G network launch. Mobile phone firm is seeking to be first in the region to adopt fast technology, but users have to buy compatible handsets. That's the lead story in your copy of your Business Daily this morning. Let me get to my panel as discuss the big stories of the day. If it's a Thursday, then we know Gabriel Muthuma is in the house. Good morning.
Jeff, how are you doing?
Very well. I saw you walking in with your signature Thursday swagger.
It is a Thursday swagger. I think I'm a morning person.
Fantastic stuff. No doubt about that.
You know, they say when you start your morning well, your day obviously may go well.
Right. Fantastic stuff. Our political analyst joining us this morning, Karibu Sana. We also have Millie Luanga, our governance expert. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We also have Honorable Jude Njomo, Kiambu Central MP. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. Let's start off with a story that we've been talking about for the past couple of days since we've been in national mourning, this being the passing on of our president. And every single day it seemed like we'd learn a different side of this particular leader, things we didn't know, from the humane side to what would happen behind closed doors during high-level government meetings or even internationally. What is your biggest learning this particular period?
Even though mine comes in with a little bit of banter,
You know, over the years we've been told how the late president was a stickler to great healthy food. That's
right.
Never
that was a big surprise, right?
Just, it's shocking how we can carry a rumor and believe it to be the fact. I mean, to be factual and truthful, only to learn that Mzee really liked his meat.
Right.
You know, and from time to time, from what we learned from Dr. David Silverstein, is that he also loved the Convino Kidogo, the second one from, I think it's the one from the Cana of Galilee, I would presume. But, you know, a lot has been coming out, but, you know, the core elements of the late president still remain. And I'm so glad that we were united back again when people came to give their final remissions, that we are united under the very same philosophy that Moi lived with, the peace, the love, and the unity. Today, if you look at our BBI, I was telling you, it actually covers that whole spectrum of peace, love, and unity. How great could it be?
Right.
when Morton, in his book, Andrew Morton, in his book about the late president, compares or writes how Jaramogi, compared Moi to a giraffe. And I've been asking this, did Moi see today? Did he see today? I mean, look at the values that this man lived with. He started out by umomonyoko udongo. What are we fighting for today? Vegetation cover, which has been dwindling by the pound. He goes on to create some of the basic education, academic institutions that we have today. He will be remembered because of that.
Right.
We are today again coming to the cornerstone of asking, what must we do to our education infrastructure? With the dwindling, of those infrastructures, with the coming down, you saw in Kakamega just the other day, we were, eulogizing our children. Coming all the way to how he believed in farming, in agriculture. Look at where we are today. Same thing, same discussions that we are talking. Right. The illusion, the elusive, how peace has become elusive, how unity has become elusive.
Right.
Did he see what we are seeing today? Is it the main reason why the president tried to unite this country? I think we have a lot to talk to, Jeff. Not today, not tomorrow, but in the future. Moi will be discussed, Moi will be talked about. And remember, his clarion call when he was living, Siasa mbaya. Maisha mbaya.
Millie, what was the biggest surprise for you? Because like Gabriel mentioned, there was this whole urban myth about how he was living in Kabarak, only boiled foods, no meat. That was a surprise to many, not political, but a surprise to many that he didn't actually love his meat and would have it very regularly. What was the biggest surprise for you that you learned from his life?
Really not a surprise, but I think I loved the reminder that deep down, much as we make fun of it, that he was really patriotic. I think that it emerged very clearly that for him, bottom line was a united Kenya. And I say this because I remember clearly, I was old enough to note when Moi said that that was his final term, and at the end of it, he was going to vacate office. And we were skeptical, like, in Africa, which one leaves,
Right.
And at the end of it, he left. And we saw from, we heard his granddaughter say that her grandfather told them that the biggest legacy you can leave your people is your family, is God, and unity, and not money or wealth, which clearly reconfirms what we knew about Moi. Remember that even in those days, when people went to State House, I think that is when the culture of going to eat ugali in State House became it, because he would feed children, he would feed teachers. When he passed through a school, people knew that he always left something behind for the children to be able to eat, buy a cow to have meat in your meal that day if it's a boarding school, So he loved people and he loved unity. And people have been analyzing his cabinets, and we saw that his cabinet, which is a good reminder to people, was always reflective of the face of the nation to the extent that it was possible. So I like the patriotism that came back. I think we have been struggling with that as a nation, because people have been talking about how do you become patriotic, what are our national values and ethos, and it gave us an opportune moment for us to remember again that at the end of the day, we may have problems, we may have difficulties, but we still remain a people who should be united. And I liked what that whole process did for us. In fact, for me, today should not be a day after the morning. We finish not with a bang, but I like the way it's going to fade off slowly, so that we don't just stop talking about him suddenly because it ended yesterday. Yeah.
Honorable Njomo, welcome to you, because even as you look at it, we're coming for it from a point of view where every single day we'd learn something new about this particular head of state, how he'd carry himself, how he'd interact with other people. Case in point is something that Sally Kosgei said, that he was never too tough when it came to women. He'd never scold them. He always knew how to deal with them in a gentle manner. The president didn't come and say that was not what he'd do with the men. Once they got into his meetings, it was a totally different story. What was the biggest surprise you learned from this particular person who was almost myth-like at some point in his administration?
Well, I think the greatest lesson I learned from the whole scenario is how our country stood united in grief. I remember when we were recalled in Parliament on Monday, as the Speaker was walking into the chamber, you know, the whole parliament broke into patriotic songs, the Tawala Kenya songs, you know, eulogizing late President Moi.
Right.
And even as members contributed, they did not really remember much of what ills the president did, but they remembered the great things that he did while he was the president. And this also went into all the ceremonies that were going on at his home in Kibera, at his home in Kabarak. Right. We saw people who were united and grieving as a nation. It also reminded us how he was a hands-on person. President Moi would go to places himself to ensure that work was performed the way it was supposed to be performed, not only here locally in our country, but also out there. I remember President Moi housed the former president for Somali when he was ousted. He housed him here in Kenya. And no wonder there were so many heads of states and governments who came to eulogize him and to condole his family. So really that is something that we have to pat our backs about, that we were able to do exactly what President had asked us to do. If he had wronged us, we forgive him. Right. If he had wronged us, we forgive him, and vice versa. Right. And I think the nation did exactly that. And he got a befitting ceremony. In all, whether it is militarily, whether it is religiously, he got the best funeral service, the best mourning period that a head of state would
Right. Right. We're also joined by Dr. Boni Halole. Good morning. Morning. Welcome to the show.
The bullfighter.
Yes, indeed. And what we're talking about, even as you join us, is during this national mourning period we had for the late president. In this period, we learned very many things that we thought we knew, and some of them were corrected or lies, and others that we didn't know at all about this man, this former president. What stuck out for you during this particular period?
I think because many people think that our communities are different because of our various tribes. I was struck by the similarity in the cultural practices towards the dead, in the respect of Moi with my community. Clearly, I saw him being buried next to his wife, which is also the case in our culture. In our culture, once you bury your wife, you are also marking your own grave. So I saw it happen the way we do it in our culture. I also saw that brief ceremony where Raymond Moi was handing over the authority of the family to Gideon, who was obviously younger than him. And it is very similar to our case. I think that struck me. But having said that, let me not go further before I send my get well quick wishes to Honorable Raphael Tuju, who got an accident yesterday. Yeah, I hope that the doctors will soon allow his friends and relatives to visit him at the hospital when he gets out of the ICU. We really want him to get well. Honorable Tuju is a very lucky man. I remember when I was with him in Parliament, he survived an airplane crash in Busia. So he's a very lucky man. I was telling my wife that I know if there's one person who will not die, it's Tuju. Not having died out of the airplane crash, he'll surely find this one just a small matter.
Very true.
And I'm happy that he's gotten well.
The doctors actually say he's in stable condition, so nice. It's good news.
Maybe it's because he was a teacher. You remember when we were in school, we had these broadcasts to schools, and Raphael Tuju was one of the announcers who were teaching us over the radio.
Oh, he was? Yes. I see. I didn't know that bit.
Learn something new every single day right here. Let's talk about this particular point in time, because as Gabriel did alluded to, most of the things that our former president would philosophize about, try and live out, are the same things we're talking about today. We've just come out of this particular period of national mourning. Most things had been put aside just to give respect to this former president. How do you see things moving forward now? Political temperatures have cooled off. If there's anything for the first time in a long time, things have kind of settled.
And I agree, and that's the kind of respect I think the late president should be accorded, given a word of the person he was, his character and his personality. But as we are, sending messages and goodwills of getting better, we also must remember the dearly departed MCA from Kahawa and Dani, Cyrus, Omondi. They used to call him, they gave him another name called Gearbox. And what this gentleman did, he broke the tribal barrier. He was somebody who came from another direction altogether, from another tribe, from another community, and was actually voted in because of what he was able to do and because of his personality. Voted in Kiambu. That just goes on to speak. The man had actually broken that ceiling, and so we eulogize him as well this morning. Having said that, I think, the fact that the temperatures, have gone down, it again means that the few remaining days of the week and coming next week, I think we'll go back to business as usual. And I think the matters on the table will be BBI. I think Meru, if I'm not wrong, I think that's where it will be heading. And talking about BBI and talking about other matters that are running, our sphere, our political sphere today, one thing that comes to play is that there's a PG meeting which was supposed to happen, this Friday. Now with what has happened to the Jubilee SG, even though it was postponed, I think it will wait. It will wait for longer. It was a consultative meeting, as they are calling it, and I thought that was actually a good thing for the party Jubilee. You see, Jubilee came together, and members of Jubilee here will probably be able to tell you. My thought had always been Kenya having 2 or 3 great parties, same way they do in the US. And I'm not saying that that should be the epitome of good governance or the epitome of democracy, no. But it is better when you form parties that are based on values and ideologies. It is a good thing when people know why they are joining your party. What values does your party hold? What principles does your party hold? So I thought that would have been a very good thing, coming to the end of the week, but it's not going to happen. So I think we'll go back to the BBI debate. And not only the BBI debate, I think the locust was an issue just, before the late president passed on. So those are some of the things which I think will come out to play. The other thing, the speed that I saw Nyayo Stadium being worked on. Oh, I can tell you that I realized Kenyans can work. If we actually put our shenanigans and politics aside, Kenyans can actually work and Kenyans can deliver. I know there are several sports events that are coming up. One being the, a World Under 20, which will be happening in Kasarani in a few months. And also there's a marathon that's supposed to happen in March. And that just tells you, the uptick of how things are happening. If we just move down our political temperatures and we just maintain to work, I think things will go on. Okay, fantastic stuff. What we'll do at this point is take a short break, come back and see from this particular point, are we hitting back factory settings as far as political temperatures are concerned and getting back to business as usual, or how do you pick it up from here moving forward? We talk about that and plenty more. As we see the Star talking about a successor picked in Gideon Moi. We saw eldest Raymond Moi, remain the family head, but passing on the baton to the youngest son, Gideon Moi, to become the political successor. What does this also mean from a political angle? We discuss that and plenty more right here. This is your News Super Review. Good morning.